Cadaver dogs continued searching the wooded area near South Beach Park here in Vero Beach Thursday morning. It's where the vehicle that belonged to the suspect in Tuesday's double homicide was found about an hour after the shooting.
911, where is your emergency?
I'm at 21st Street. I'm pretty sure I heard shots fired.
The police chief says the 911 call started coming in at around 7 a.m. Tuesday.
What direction did they sound like they were coming from?
It sounded like it was more towards the library.
Yeah.
When police arrived on scene, they found Danny Uli and Stacy Mason, both Indian River County employees, inside Uli's truck with multiple gunshot wounds. The search is on for this man, 64-year-old Jesse Scott Ellis.
In 58 minutes, 2 people would be dead in a library parking lot in Vero Beach, Florida. At 6:02 on the morning of Tuesday, March 24th, 2026, Danny Uli backed his silver Ford Ranger into a space in the north parking lot of the Indian River County Main Library on 21st Street. The sun had only just cleared the horizon. The lot was empty. He cut the engine and waited. A short time later, Stacy Ellis Mason pulled her black Volkswagen Atlas into the same lot, parked it, got out, walked around to Danny's truck and climbed into the passenger seat. 2 county employees. A familiar meeting spot. A morning that looked from any angle like the beginning of an ordinary Tuesday. By 7:01, police were receiving frantic calls reporting gunshots from that lot. By the time officers arrived, both of them were dead. She did not know that was coming. Neither did he. That is the part that stays with you, that the last ordinary thing Stacy Ellis Mason ever did was get out of her own car and walk towards someone she trusted. But while Stacy was making that walk, someone else had already parked on a nearby street. He had been watching that lot for weeks. He knew exactly who would be in it that morning. He had made his decision long before 7 a.m. This is the story of what Jesse Scott Ellis planned, what he carried out, and why 4 days later, he still has not been found. Stacy Ellis Mason was 49 years old. She had worked for Indian River County since 2014, spending over a decade as a traffic analyst technician within the county's traffic engineering division. Her job was infrastructure, coordinating the movement of vehicles across a county that most residents never thought twice about, because people like Stacy made sure they did not have to. Indian River County Administrator John Titkanish described her publicly as well-liked and deeply professional, a person the department had come to rely on across 14 years of daily service. County Board Chairman Durrell Lohr called her a dedicated public servant. That language did not come from a eulogy. It came from the people who had watched her show up and do the work. Outside the office, by early 2026, Stacy's life was in transition. She and Jesse Scott Ellis had been married for 13 years. They shared a home in southern Indian River County that had recently been listed for sale. The marriage was ending, not in crisis, not in denial, but in the measured and legal way that people end things when they have made a decision and chosen to honor it. According to Vero Beach Police Chief David Curry, the two had been in active discussions about separating, and the process of selling their shared home was already underway. Stacy was not waiting for permission. She was moving forward. She had also, investigators believe, found connection in that period of transition. Her colleague Danny Uli, 56 years old, the assistant director of Indian River County Public Works, had become more than a coworker. Danny had joined the county as a maintenance worker and spent nearly 25 years rising through the ranks to one of its most senior positions. Chief Curry told reporters that investigators believed Mason and Uli had been romantically involved for at least several weeks before March 24th. Danny's mother, Mary Uli, disputed that characterization in a statement to NBC News, saying her son was not having an affair and that the two had been at the library that morning to check on a work site. That dispute remains part of the record. What is not disputed is who Danny Uli was to the organization he served, a man who had earned every title he held, starting from the very bottom, over more than 2 decades. On the morning of March 24th, Stacy's day was beginning the way days begin. She drove to the library lot. She got into Danny's truck. She was, in all probability, thinking about the shift ahead, a schedule, a task list, the ordinary logistics of a Tuesday morning. She was not thinking about Jesse Ellis. But Jesse Ellis had been thinking about her for weeks. Therefore, his arrival in that parking lot was not a coincidence. It was the conclusion of a plan. Jesse Scott Ellis was 64 years old, a licensed electrician working for Towson Electric in Vero Beach South. 6 feet 4 inches tall, approximately 200 pounds. To anyone who knew him in passing, a neighbor, a coworker, someone who recognized him through Stacy, he presented as an unremarkable man. A long marriage, a house in southern Indian River County, the surface of a settled life. But the weeks before March 24th tell a very different story. According to Chief Curry, Ellis had hired a private investigator to track his wife and Danny Uli's movements. He had been building a picture confirming suspicions, documenting meetings, learning the patterns of where they went and when. The library parking lot was not a guess. Curry confirmed that Mason and Uli had met there before, and that Ellis knew it. That knowledge is what placed him on a nearby street before 7 a.m. with a loaded, registered AR-15. The evidence of planning did not stop there. A search warrant executed on Ellis's home turned up multiple firearms, a gun locker left deliberately open, and .223 caliber ammunition that matched the shell casings later recovered from the crime scene. His AR-15 style rifle, the weapon identified as the one used in the killings, was registered in his name. Describing him as a gun enthusiast, Chief Curry said Ellis had left the gun locker open and numerous firearms behind at the house. He had also left his phone on a surface with a post-it note containing his own PIN number written on it. Inside, the truck investigators later found a handwritten journal dated from early and mid-March, weeks before the shooting. Chief Curry described its contents publicly. The pain he was in, that he could not sleep, could not eat, and wished he could have done something better. Ellis had also been receiving what the chief described as professional services in the weeks leading up to the shooting, without elaborating on their specific nature. He was not hiding his state of mind. He was writing it down, but nothing in the system translated that documented suffering into an intervention before March 24th. Therefore, by 6:58 on the morning of March 24th, Ellis had parked his gray 2022 Ford F-150 on a street adjacent to the library lot, and was already moving on foot toward the north parking lot, where Danny Uli's silver Ranger sat with both of them inside. He approached the driver's side first. According to Chief Curry, Ellis opened fire on Uli through the driver's window using the AR-15 style rifle, striking him while he sat in the driver's seat. Ellis then moved deliberately around the vehicle to the passenger side. As Stacy either fell from the truck or was pulled out, Ellis fired again. 21 spent .223 caliber shell casings were recovered from the asphalt surrounding that vehicle. Surveillance cameras captured the entire sequence, though the footage has not been publicly released. The rifle was left where it landed when Ellis walked away. He thought leaving the weapon behind meant leaving no connection to it, but that rifle was registered in his name. The 21 casings were the forensic signature of a specific weapon, a specific magazine load, a specific person, and every one of them was still on the ground when officers arrived at 7:01 a.m. He did not remove himself from the crime. He signed it and walked away. That was mistake number one. Police were called at 7:01. Both Stacy Ellis Mason and Danny Uli were pronounced dead at the scene. The first 911 call came in from a man who said he believed he had heard gunshots about 10 to 15 seconds earlier. When the dispatcher asked how many shots, he said at least half a dozen. A second caller reported the same thing within seconds of the first. Ellis did not flee far. He drove his Ford F-150 south from the library to South Beach Park, less than 2 miles away, parked the truck, and walked to the beach. At approximately 7:30 a.m., A woman named Carol Hughes was walking the shoreline at Reamer Beach to watch the sunrise when she noticed a figure swimming far out in the Atlantic. She did not think much of it at the time. She took a photo on her phone and kept walking. It was not until later that morning, when she saw a news post on social media stating that a suspect had gone into the water, that she realized what she had captured. She contacted investigators immediately and sent them the image. Indian River County Fire Rescue had already been called to the scene by that point. A woman had reported a tall, older man walking fully clothed into the ocean. Rescue crews launched a boat and reached a man approximately 900 yards offshore at around 8:30 a.m. The man was calm. He said he did this regularly. He said he did not need any assistance and would appreciate it if they left. He gave them a name, but it was not his name. Fire rescue crews, unaware that a double homicide warrant had not yet been issued and that this man was actively sought in connection with 2 killings, could not legally compel him to return. As the department's own spokesperson later explained, forcing a person who is awake, alert, and oriented back to shore without consent would expose responders to liability for assault. They left him in the water. It was not until later that afternoon, after investigators showed them photographs of Ellis, that crew members concluded the man they had spoken to was very likely him. That encounter 900 yards offshore, a false name, a rescue crew legally unable to act, was mistake number 2. Ellis believed that giving a fabricated identity to emergency personnel, with no documentation on his person, would close the trail behind him. Instead, it created a confirmed geographic and temporal data point. He was alive, mobile, and coherent at 8:30 a.m., less than 90 minutes after the shooting, in a specific location that investigators could map. The false name did not protect him. It became evidence of consciousness of guilt. But the story did not end in the water. By Friday, March 27th, Chief Curry told reporters that investigators now believe Ellis made it back to shore. Witnesses near the Spires and Ocean Reef area, north of where he entered the water, consistent with a northward drift, reported helping a man who told them he had a cramp and that he was fine, before getting up and walking away without further contact. Surveillance footage released publicly by Vero Beach Police showed a shirtless man walking the shoreline south of Reamer Beach at 11:10 a.m. on Tuesday, approximately 4 hours after the shooting. Curry said the image was shown to friends and family members who believed it was Ellis. The timeline suggests, according to Curry, that Ellis could have made it back to his truck before it was located by investigators at 12:45 p.m. When investigators executed the search warrant on the Ford F-150 at South Beach Park, what they found told the story of a man who had not planned to survive the morning. Wet shorts and a wet shirt were recovered from the cab, confirming he had returned to the vehicle after coming out of the water. An empty holster sat alongside a .380 caliber magazine belonging to a handgun that has not yet been located. His driver's license, passport, wallet, credit cards, and cell phone were all left behind. The post-it note with his PIN number was still on the phone. There has been no activity on any of his financial accounts since March 24th. Homeland Security flagged him at every airport. His passport went nowhere. He left everything behind that would allow him to function. He left it in a truck in a parking lot. That was mistake number 3, because everything he left behind confirmed exactly where he had been, exactly what he had done after the shooting, and that a second weapon was still unaccounted for. Investigators did not have to theorize about his movements. He documented them in wet clothing, ballistic hardware, and a journal written in his own hand. Chief Curry was direct at the Friday press conference. He has no resources. If he is alive, it is a matter of time. On Thursday, March 26th, the Vero Beach Police Department issued 2 active warrants for Jesse Scott Ellis. 1 count of premeditated first-degree murder for the killing of Danny Uly, and 1 count of premeditated first-degree murder for the killing of Stacey Ellis Mason. The agencies now involved in the search include the Vero Beach Police Department, Sebastian Police, the Indian River County Sheriff's Office, the FBI, Homeland Security, the U.S. Coast Guard, the U.S. Marshals Service, the Indian River Shores Public Safety Department, and cadaver dog units from Brevard County. The search perimeter has expanded south toward the St. Lucie County line, following additional surveillance footage and witness tips from homes in southern Indian River County. As of March 28, 2026, Jesse Scott Ellis has not been found. Ellis needed this to go cleanly. Nothing went cleanly. The registered rifle at the scene told investigators the weapon before they had a suspect. The 21 casings told them the magazine and the rate of fire. The private investigator, who has since spoken with police, confirmed weeks of deliberate surveillance. The false name given to fire rescue confirmed he was alive and thinking 90 minutes after the shooting. The wet clothing in the truck confirmed he came back to shore. The empty holster confirmed a second firearm is still somewhere. Every decision Ullis made to protect himself produced something investigators could use. He did not build a plan that failed. He built a case against himself and left it at South Beach Park. How did a man receiving documented professional support for emotional distress, a man writing in a journal about not being able to eat, sleep, or see a way forward, walk out of those sessions with an AR-15 still in an open gun locker, and a private investigator already working on retainer? How did 14 years of a woman's professional life, a network of 900 county colleagues, a community of neighbors and kakas and acquaintances, produce no mechanism to recognize that the man she was trying to leave had entered a period of specific and measurable danger? How did a fire rescue crew make legal, verbal contact with the primary suspect 900 yards offshore, look him in the face, hear him speak, watch him refuse help, and have no legal authority to bring him back to shore? These are not rhetorical questions. They are the structural failures this case has exposed, and they are not unique to Vero Beach. The Violence Policy Center reported that in 2022, the most recent year with complete national data, Florida ranked among the top 10 states in the country for women killed by male intimate partners in single-victim incidents. The overwhelming majority of those victims knew their killers. The overwhelming majority were killed with firearms legally obtained. The pattern is not new. The gap between documented warning signs and protective intervention is not new either. If you are in a relationship where a partner cannot accept that it is ending, where monitoring has started, where the tone has shifted in a way you cannot yet name, where something in your instinct has changed even if nothing obvious has happened yet, that instinct is information worth acting on. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available at 1-800-799-SAFE, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They can help you build a safety plan before you need one. Stassa Ullis Mason should be turning 50 later this year. She would likely have been finding out what life looked like on the other side of a decision. She had already made a new address, a cleared calendar, the particular kind of quiet that comes after a long and difficult choice finally lands where it was always going to land. The drive from southern Indian River County to the library on 21st Street should have been nothing more than a familiar Tuesday morning commute. The kind of drive you make without thinking, because you have made it 100 times before. Instead, it was the last one she ever took. She is remembered by over 900 county colleagues who had to figure out how to walk back into that building the next morning, by an administrator who used the word executed at a press conference and meant it precisely, by a stepdaughter named Krusty Ullis who told reporters she had lost both her parents in a single morning, 4 words that carry the full weight of what 58 minutes of a Tuesday can do to an entire family. Rest in peace, Stassa Ullis Mason. Your case is not closed, and the people who loved you are still waiting for answers. If you have any information about the current whereabouts of Jesse Scott Ullis, contact the Vero Beach Police Department at 772-978-4600 or call 911. Those wishing to remain anonymous can contact Treasure Coast Crime Stoppers at 800-273-8477, where you may be eligible for a cash reward. Ulaz is 64 years old, 6 feet 4 inches tall, approximately 200 pounds, and was last confirmed in the South Beach area of Vara Beach on the morning of March 24th. If you see him, do not approach. Call immediately. If this story moved you, please leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you believe stories like Stussa's deserve to be heard, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel, because someone watching this right now may hold the piece that finally closes this case.